Hi ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video we're gonna try to create a Python TTS or text-to-speech desktop software using Microsoft Edge TTS model for voice generation and Tkinter for managing graphical user interface. So without further delay, let's jump into the action. So inside PyCharm IDE, I'll start by creating a new project. So I'll click on new project and I'll give it a name TTS. And I'll click on create. I'll wait a little bit till my virtual environment is created. And right now I'll open new terminal and install our required model, which is TTS. So I'll type pip install and then edge-tts. Alright, edge-tts has been installed, so right now we can focus on our code. So I'll create our main Python file. So inside our Python file, I will first start by importing edge-tts. So I'll type import edge-tts, and I'll also import tkinter. So I'll type import tkinter as tk. Alright, and from tkinter we will also need ttk for model theme widget. So I'll type from tkinter import ttk. And we'll also need message box in order to display some pop-ups. So I'll type message box, and we'll also need file dialog for the upload button. So we'll add it. And the last import is gonna be async.io in order to handle asynchronous functions. So we'll type import async.io. Alright, so right now first I'll start by creating a function in order to generate audio using edge-tts. So I'll type async for asynchronic def, and for our function name is gonna be equal to generate audio. So we'll type generate audio. For the parameter we'll need the text, voice, rate, and the output file. We'll create a edge-tts communicate instance. So we'll type communicate equal edge-tts dot communicate, and then we'll enter the parameters. So we'll type text equal text, voice equal voice, and rate equal rate. So we'll press tab. And right now we need to save our sound inside our output file path. So we'll type await communicate dot save, and inside it I will simply add output file. Alright, and after our sound is successfully saved, we want to show a success message box. So for that sake, I will type message box dot show info success file saved successfully, and I'll add the output file path. So I'll add output file. Alright, so that's it for our function, and right now we want to test it. So we'll type async.io dot run, and inside it I'll call my function. So I'll type generate audio, and for the text it's gonna be equal to hello guys, and for the voice it's gonna be equal to English United States under neural. And later guys I'll show you how to get the full list of our HTTPS available voice. Next, for the rate, I'll keep it normal, so I'll type plus 0%. And for the output file, I want it to be saved in my current directory as hello.mp3. So we can test our current advancement. So I'll press Shift F10 in order to run our Python script. And as you can see, guys, we got file saved successfully. And we basically can test that. So I'll press Alt F12 for terminal. And I'll type star dot in order to open our current directory. And as you can see inside our current directory, there is a loaded mp3, so we'll click on it in order to open it.
Hello guys.
So as you can see, guys, this script is working perfectly and the sound is already generated. So right now we can back to our PyCharm in order to advance in our code. So I'll close the terminal and I'll come on calling my function. And right now I'll focus on creating the window for our Tkinter graphical user interface. So we'll type root equal tk.tk, and in order to activate our window, we only need to type root.main loop. Alright, so before seeing the window, we'll need to assign a title to it. So we'll type root.title, which is gonna be equal to text to speech. And for the size of our window, we wanted 600 horizontally and 400 pixels vertically. So for that reason, I'll type root.geometry. And inside it, I'll simply type 600 x 400. Alright. So right now I'll rerun the Python file in order to test our window. So I'll press Shift F10. And as you can see, guys, we got our window with the title text to speech. So we can move on and add element inside our window. So the first element that I'm gonna create is the voice selection dropdown. And for the selection dropdown, we need to create a list containing some example of our edge-tts available voices. So for that sake, I will create a new array and I'll call it voices, which gonna be equal to a new array. And I'll basically try to fill this array with some example of edge-tts voices. So for that reason, I will open the terminal. And inside the terminal, I'll simply type the command python -n for model edge_tts and then -l in order to see the voices list. So basically we got all the available voices list with its name, gender, content categories, and voice personality. So I'll scroll down to English United States. And I'll add it right there inside our voices array. And I'll do the same for the rest. So we'll add some couple of examples. Alright, that's fine. So after assigning some example of voices inside our voices array, we'll start by adding a new label. So we'll type ttk dot label, and the first argument is gonna be the parent. So obviously the parent is root, and for the text is gonna be equal to select a voice. So for this desktop application, we'll use Grid as a geometry manager. So you can think, guys, of our window as a table containing some rows and columns. So for that sake, I'll type .grid, and I'll basically insert our label inside the first row and the first column. So we'll type .grid column 0 row equals 0. So I'll press tab, and I'll add some padding. So we'll type pad x equal 10 and pad y equal 10. So I'll press tab, and I'll make the label stick to the width. So I'll type sticky equal w. Next, we want to create our voice variable in which the selected voice will be saved. So we'll type voice var, which gonna be equal to tk.string variable, and for its value is gonna be equal to the first element of our voices array. Next, we will create our voice dropdown. So we'll type voice underscore dropdown, which gonna be equal to ttk.combo box, and for its parents gonna be equal to root, and obviously for its values gonna be equal to voices. And if we select a specific voice, we want it to be saved inside our voices variable. So for that reason, I will type text variable equal voice var. And next we want the state to be read only, so we can change it manually. So we'll type state equal read only. Alright. Next, we want to add our voice dropdown to our first row, but in the second column. So for that reason, I will type voice dropdown dot grid, and for the row, it's gonna be equal to 0. For the column, it's gonna be equal to 1. I'll also add some padding, so I'll type pad x equal 10 and pad y equal 10. And for the sticky parameter is gonna be equal to EW, so our voice dropdown can expand horizontally. So we'll type sticky equal EW. Alright, so we'll rerun the script in order to see our advancement. And as you can see, guys, we have got the select a voice label and our select drop down list. But in fact, we want the second column of our selected drop down to be bigger. So for that reason, I will close this window and I'll back to code. So I will simply type root dot column configure, and for the column we will assign extra space for the second column. So I'll type 1, and for its weight it's gonna be 3 times bigger. So I'll type weight equal 3. Alright, so right now I'll press Shift F10 in order to rerun the script and see our advancement. And as you can see, guys, the second column in which our selected dropdown exists has got 3 times more space than the first column in which the label is existing. So right now we can back to the code in order to add more elements. And for the next element, we want to add a speed selection slider. So we will begin by creating our label. So we'll type ttk.label, and for its parent it's gonna be equal to root, and for the text it's gonna be equal to select speed rate. We will add the label at the second row, first column, so we'll type dot create row equal 1, column equal 0, with some horizontal and vertical padding, and we want the sticky equal width in order to add the label at the left. Next, we want to define the speed variable in which we will save our current speed rate, so we'll type speed var, which will be equal to tk dot int variable, and I'm gonna assign 0 as a default value. So at the beginning we are working at a normal rate. So next we will add our speed slider. So we'll type speed slider, which gonna be equal to ttk dot scale, and for the parents it's gonna be equal root, and for the range we want it to be between -15 and +15. So for that reason I will type from equal -50 and 2 equal 50. We want it to orient horizontally, so we'll type orient equal horizontal, and for the variable we will assign speed variable to it. Next we will need to add it to our window on the second row and the second column, so for that reason I will type speed slider dot grid. For the row it's gonna be equal to 1. For the column it's gonna be equal to 1. We want some paddings, and for the sticky I will modify it to EW so our speed slider can expand horizontally. Alright, so I'll rapidly rerun the application in order to see our advancement. And as you can see guys, our speed slider has appeared, which is in the range between -50 and +50. Alright, so right now we will move on and we will focus on other stuff. So next we will add our text input box. And as usual, I'll start by adding a label. So I'll type ttk.label with a parent equal to root and with a text equal to enter a text. And then I'll simply need to add the label to the third row and the first column. So I'll simply press tab. And right now we can add our text box. So we'll type text box, which is gonna be equal to tk.text, and for the parent it's gonna be equal to root. For the wrap argument it's gonna be equal to word. So in case we are having a long word at the end of the line, we will move it directly to the next one. Alright, so next we want to add our text box to our current row and second column. So we'll type text box dot create. For the row it's gonna be equal to 2. For the column it's gonna be equal to 1 with some padding, and we want it to expand horizontally. So for the sticky it's gonna be equal to EW. So we'll press tab, and before rerunning our desktop application we want this current row to have extra weight. So for that reason I'll type root.row configure, and for our current row, which is 2, we want the weight to be equal to 1. Alright, so right now we'll press Shift F10 to see the changes. And as you can see guys, we have added our text box, which is working perfectly. So next we will create our upload button. So we'll simply type upload button, which is gonna be equal to ttk.button. For its parent is gonna be equal to root, and for the text it's gonna be equal to upload a text. And if we click on our upload button, we want to run on upload function. So for that reason, I will type command equal on upload. Obviously, on upload is not defined, so we'll define it right now. So we'll type def for function on upload. And inside of our function, we want to know the file path of our uploaded text file. So for that reason, I will type file path equal file dialog dot ask open file name, and for the file types it's gonna be equal to text file and asterisk dot txt. Alright, and in case the file path is existing, we want to read the content of our text file. So for that reason, I will type with open file path and then R for read, as if for file colon, and then I'll define a new element and I'll call it content, which gonna be equal to f.read. Alright, and right now all we have to do is to delete the current value of our text box and replace it with content. So for that sake, I'll simply type text box dot delete, and I'll delete from the beginning. So I'll type 1.0, and we will delete to the end. So we'll type tk dot, and we'll insert the new content. So we'll type text box dot insert from the beginning, which is 1.0, and then the content. Alright, so right now we'll add the upload button to our window at the right. So for that reason, I'll type upload button dot create, and for the row, it's gonna be equal to 3. For the column, it's gonna be equal to 1. We'll add some horizontal and vertical padding, so we'll type paddings equal 10 and pad y equal 10, and then we wanted to stick it to the right, so we'll type sticky equal in for east. Alright, so before running our application, I will create a new text file in order to use it to test our application. So for that reason, I will exit the presentation mode, and I'll click on the TTS folder and I'll type new, then file, and I'll call it example.txt, and right there I'll simply type smooth code is great YouTube channel. Alright, so right now I will rerun the application in order to test it. I'll copy my current path, and I'll click on upload the text, and I'll select example.txt and I'll press up. And as you can see, guys, our text box has been filled with the content of our example.txt. So right now we'll back to PyCharm in order to advance encoding. And basically the last element that we are gonna create is the generate audio button. So we'll create a generate button. So we'll type generate button, which is gonna be equal to ttk dot button. For the parents, it's gonna be equal to root, and for the text, it's gonna be equal to generate audio. And in case our button is clicked, we want to run on generate audio. So we'll type on generate audio. And of course, I'll need to define this function. So we'll move right there and type def for function on generate audio. We will get the voice from our voice variable. So we'll type voice equal voice variable dot get. We'll also get the rate from our speed variable. So we'll type speed variable dot get. And we'll need to format the rate to the string. So for our rate string, we want it on the format plus rate percentage if our rate is positive. So for that reason, I'll type if for Python formatting, then plus curly braces rate, and then percentage if rate is bigger or equal to 0, otherwise else it's gonna be equal to formatting rate and then percentage. We will also need to get our text, so we'll type text, which will gonna be equal to text box dot get, and we will get it from the beginning. So we'll press tab, and I'll add dot strip in order to remove the spaces at the beginning and at the end. So if our text is empty, which is gonna be equal to quotation mark, we want to show warning message box. So for that reason, I will type message box dot show warning, and for the title it's gonna be equal to warning, and for the value it's gonna be equal to no text provide, and we want to exit from the function, so I'll simply type return. And in case there is a text, we want to ask the user where he's gonna save the new generated audio. So for that reason, I'll type output file, which is gonna be equal to file dialog dot ask save as a file name, and for the default extension is gonna be equal to .mp3, and for the file types it's gonna be equal to mp3 asterisk .mp3. So I'll type file types equal array parentheses mp3 comma asterisk mp3. So I'll press tab. Alright. So if no output file, we want to quit the function, so we'll type if not output file colon return. Otherwise, we will generate the video. So for that sake, I will simply type async IO dot run, and then I'll call the generate audio function, and for the text, it's gonna be equal to text. For the voice, it's gonna be equal to voice. For the rate, is gonna be equal to rate string, so we'll type rate underscore string, and for the output file, it's gonna be equal to output file. So basically that's it for our function. Right now all we need to do is to add our generate button to the window, so we'll type generate button dot grid, and I'll add it to the fourth row, so we'll type row equal 4, and then column equal 1, and I'll add some horizontal and vertical padding, so I'll type paddix equal 10 and pad y equal 10. Alright. Alright, so I believe that's it for our full script. So right now I will rerun the application in order to test. So I'll click on upload the text, and I will upload my example.txt text, and I'll press on generate audio. I'll choose the destination of the file to my desktop, and I'll call it output, and I'll basically click on save. And as you can see, the output file is saved in the desktop, so I'll navigate to it, and I'll try to run this out. So I'll click on it,
Smooth Code is a great YouTube channel.
and as you can see guys, the script is working and the sound is generated perfectly. So thank you guys for watching, and if you have enjoyed the content, please give the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and see you soon.